We begin on the college basketball hardwood where the reigning champs are dancing. Over 3 days at Madison Square Garden, the Villanova Wildcats have taken on the look of a national title defense. Villanova captured the national championship a year ago, but that was then depleted by deflections for the NBA draft, and it showed at times this year. The Wildcats still managed to win the Big East regular season title behind returning seniors Phil Booth and Eric Pascal, a former Fordham standout, despite losing 5 of their last 8 games. On Saturday night, they had the look of champs once again. Top-seeded and 25th ranked Villanova held together in the late going and completed its run to a 5th Big East championship by defeating 3rd-seeded Seton Hall 74-72 in the title game before a sellout crowd. We go inside the locker room for more.
Each year, coming from the first one, I didn't know the streak. We just want to talk about being the greatest team we could be, greatest Villanova basketball team we could be. So there's nothing really like right now plan. We just try to be the best Villanova basketball team and see where that takes us.
It's really a tribute to Phil and Eric. They really have been like coaches this season. We can do so much on the court, but they've got to take the guys in the locker room and teach them, how we prepare for practice, how we prepare for games. They've got to teach them how to get sleep at night, how to eat the right way. They've been like big brothers, fathers almost to these guys.
The Big East wrapped Saturday night at the world's most famous arena. It was the Atlantic 10's turn on Sunday afternoon, and like Nova, the Bonnies were so close to dancing once again, but their magical late-season run ended in frustration. St. Bonaventure raced out to an early 15-point lead, but managed just 19 points in the second half as St. Louis rallied and hung on for a 55-53 victory in the A-10 Conference Championship game on Sunday, sucking out the win out of thousands of Bonnie fans at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. The Bonnies were looking for their second trip to the NCAA tournament in as many years, and they had their chances despite trailing by 8 points with 3:45 to play. Speaking of losing a grip on late leads, Lou Williams continues to prove that he is not only the LA Clippers' most valuable player, but the NBA's leading candidate for 6th Man of the Year. The veteran guard continued his hot play since the All-Star break, nailing a 28-foot three-pointer from the top of the key at the buzzer to give the Clippers a 119-116 victory over the Brooklyn Nets on Sunday night. Williams' buzzer beater capped a roller coaster game where the Clippers squandered two double-digit leads, in the second half, and the Nets saw an 18-point cushion in the second quarter evaporate before halftime. The Knicks actually got a win on St. Patty's, or perhaps the LA Lakers and LeBron James just found another way to lose a game. Final score from MSG, 124-123, and the highlight was a Mario Hezonja block on King James in the waning seconds to seal the game. Time for some quick hitters from around the world of sports. The Fordham women's basketball team will find out their fate in the NCAA tournament tonight when the selection show goes down at 7 p.m. Sunday was the selection show on the men's side, so 68 teams know where they're headed to begin their respective postseason campaigns, while quite a few others are left frustrated to have missed the cut. Of those 68 teams, 8 have ties to the New York area. Iona is a 16 seed and will face number 1 North Carolina. Iona is dancing once again after it won the MAC championship for the 4th year in a row. The game will take place in Columbus, Ohio on Friday. Don't expect to see the Gales moving on. North Carolina, of course, the number 1 seed who beat Duke twice this year, could easily be the true favorite in the tournament. Zion Williamson's Duke Blue Devils are the top overall team in the tourney. Gonzaga, North Carolina, and Virginia are the other number 1 seeds. The 2019 NCAA tournament gets underway tomorrow. Conor McGregor won't be back in the octagon tomorrow, but that day is coming sooner rather than later. At UFC 229, McGregor challenged Khabib for the UFC lightweight title. It did not go well for him, of course. McGregor was dominated for much of the fight before finally submitting to a neck crank in the 4th round. It had taken Conor 2 years to get back in the octagon before that fight, but McGregor was a guest of honor at the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Chicago on Saturday, and he spoke with ABC 7 Chicago about his fighting future, saying he is currently in negotiations with the UFC and targeting a summer return. Fernando Alonso is returning to the Indy 500, of course. Alonso prepared for his highly anticipated return to the greatest spectacle in racing this year by winning another major event Friday night, the 1,000 miles of Sebring, the 6th round of the 2018-19 FIA World Endurance Championship sports car season. Co-driving with 2 other teammates, Alonso's number 8 Toyota Gazoo racing machine completed the race, constrained by the 8-hour time limit with a margin of 1 lap over the sister number 7 Toyota, with 253 laps completed. The rain and wet conditions forced the switch to the time limit time limit instead of the distance. It was Alonso's first time driving at Sebring International Raceway, and the race ended under rainy conditions. Adjusting to Sebring in the wet can be very tough on first-time drivers, but Alonso was up to the challenge. I really think he's going to take the Indy 500 this year. IndyCar returns to action at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas on March 24th. In Formula One, Bottas bested Hamilton by more than 20 seconds to take the season opener. In Australia, a 1-2 punch for Mercedes. Not much has changed in F1. Meanwhile, in MotoGP, up next on the calendar is a showdown in Argentina on March 31st. Johnny Football will try and give it a go again. Johnny Manziel, who has been exiled from 2 football leagues in 2 different countries, will be joining the Memphis Express in the Alliance of American Football League. The league announced on Friday night. The former Heisman Trophy winner's last stop in football was a stint in the Canadian Football League with Montreal. The team was forced to cut him, and the league subsequently banned him from playing with any other team under mysterious circumstances. This, of course, followed a 2-win career with the Cleveland Browns, who cut him amid looming domestic abuse cases. In golf, Rory McIlroy has won the Players' Championship. The Northern Irishman's 2-under par 70 gave him victory on 16 under. It is his first win in a year and sets him up for an attempt at the career Grand Slam at the Masters next month. Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list for a closer look at one of the locals in March Madness. I gave you my thoughts on Iona and the roundup. You heard how I feel about the women's basketball team out at Fordham last week on the show. I even gave you some insight into the 2 power teams that I would fear the most, UNC and Duke. On Friday's show, we talked St. John's and its late season collapse. The Red Storm might actually be able to make a little run now, believe it or not. Sometimes the NCAA tournament has a way of breathing some fresh air into those lungs. St. John's were one of the last 4 teams to make it into the tournament. The Red Storms had an anxious wait as they sat on the bubble following their blowout loss to Marquette in the quarterfinals of the Big East tournament. It will be their first time in the NCAA tournament since 2015 and their first time qualifying under the leadership of head coach Chris Mullins. Mullins' team will now look to make the most of their selection against the school that finished second in the Pac-12. The Arizona Sun Devils fell to Oregon in the semifinals of their conference tournament after finishing the regular season 22-10. I'll take St. John's in their first-round matchup. The winner of the first 4 matchup will then play number 6 seed Buffalo in the next round. I could even see St. John's pulling the upset there. Where the Red Storm and Mullen will go from there would be anyone's guess, but that's the reality of March Madness. That's your sports. I'm Bobby C.